Tell you what, it's crazy. It's been 2.5 years since the very first time I sat in this chair. I mean, so much time in a creepy warehouse, and now we're at Ed's house. You know, I mean, we got heat and air, good lights, good mic. I remember the clip-on mic, don't move too much, it stops. You know, I love it. I love this. You know, the crazy thing, I had a few comedy videos on, I've never did a YouTube video before. And all of a sudden, a story that I told 1,000,000 times in bars and dealing with cars and stuff. Oh my God, you were banned from eBay. And, hey, it's a good story. I'll just share that one. Overnight, just blew up. And the next thing you know, it's the best sales day ever and all that. I love it. And these are your top 10 rabbit videos. She was a witch, and she was going to put a spell on me. Buyer payer was awesome because you dealt with two different ends of the world. There was no in between. Either they were the best or the worst. A lot of people are really weird about credit apps. They're weird about debt. They're weird about, things on their credit report, things like that. They're not real sure about it. They don't want that. Or let's say, you're getting paid under the table. So you actually have good customers. I mean, these guys pay you like clockwork. And then you've got the reason why they made buy here, pay here. You want to get as close to what you owe in the car as your down payment. And then basically you break it down into a monthly, bi-weekly, or even a weekly payment, which weekly is just too aggravating. There's several guys that I used to sell cars with that are multi-millionaires, and that's all they've ever done is buy here, pay here car lot. We had one just recently retire. He'd been doing buy here, pay here since 1960. Never sold a car that was more than $5,000 total price. And it's always sold just little 10-year-old cars and made a freaking kill. He's a multi-millionaire. Technology has moved up with it. Before they'd make a payment, you had to hunt the car down. Now you got GPS tracking systems. They're super cheap. It's $22 a car. They monitor it. I can turn it off. 9 times out of 10, if the car ever stops, the payments stop. You might as well go ahead and put that on the pickup list because it's only the payments are going to stop. Transmission goes out, something like that. They'll never finish paying for the car. But you broke even in it. And I did get my return checks, which I was good at that. That's what also got me so good at dealing with checks at the bank. You make a lot of friends in the banking business, and all those cute ladies that work at the front desk or the counter, the checkout tellers. It was so funny. I could get a check cleared anywhere in that town. I could find out, validate a check. And they couldn't tell you exactly how much is in there, but it's like a guessing game. But they could tell you this check won't clear. And see, this is the thing a lot of people understand. I can deposit money in anyone's checking account. Anybody can deposit money in anyone's checking account. And as soon as you deposit cash, which hits 100%, give me certified funds for this check, please. And you're probably going to get a really dirty phone call shortly after. But you know what? You got paid. I've had people write me checks. That guy wrote me a bad check for $3,500, and what he did was he just kept his balance below $3,500, so he knew the check wasn't clear. He was still operating out of his checking account. He just kept his balance below $3,500, so he knew my check wasn't clear. I came into the bank. It was written on a Greer State Bank, small bank, 4 branches. Walked in, head teller. I used to date her. I walked in. I said, "Listen, this check's no good." She said, "I can't tell you how much is in this account." And I said, "I understand that." She said, "But this check will not clear." I said, "Is it closed?" She said, "Depends on what you call closed." She said, "You probably could swing it." I said, "Really?" And then it was like 300, 500. She's like, "It just would probably there." I said, "Pause slip, please." $500. I put 5 $100 bills on the counter. You know what? I had to spend a little money to get your money, but I got paid. We had a guy steal a truck off the yard one time too, steal a truck off the lot, and we had people coming up saying, "You give me $100, I'll tell you took it." I said, "Well, just call the police right now and let the police talk to you about it." But you have those types of people. That's Pickens County people. It's just, you got money in Pickens County and you got the lowest of the low. The lot was open. We didn't have a fence around it. You won't be able to walk around and look at the cars. So we had all the cars parked, all nice. We had a ditch in the front, so you really couldn't drive through the front necessarily. You had to come out the side, no matter one way in, one way out. So we had a Lincoln Town Car we would always put right at the end. But there was a gravel lot next door. They decided they were going to start cutting donuts. This thing is pelted down one side. It looks like it has hail damage on one side of the car. Destroyed that car. Cracked glass, just murdered it. We had a guy take a car on a test drive, robbed a gas station and brought it back. Drove it, test drove it. Didn't think nothing about it. My mom was there. I wasn't even there yet. I caught the tail end of it. The time I got there, he had just got back. The car was still warm. And he jumped in his car, and obviously he wasn't going to come in and say, hey. He got in the car. He just jammed the car back in the parking spot, got in his car, and took the fuck out of there. The cops come out, fingerprint. Obviously, he knew exactly who it was as soon as they did that. He didn't care. This guy's crazy. He actually died 2 weeks later doing the same thing, but he was running from the police. And he wrapped a LX Mustang around a pole. And I mean, just, it killed him. He's dead at the door now. The grandma story. Brick Mason, his sister came to me to buy a car. Her credit was worse than anybody in the family. She came to me, I sold her an Escort ZX2. Classy ride. Good little car, you can't kill them. I bought it, about 5 other cars in one night. I drove it to the shop. I said, man, this thing's ready to sell. Air blows cold in. I said, Dave said, I'll clean it up for you. Dave's just hanging out, I said, shoot, knock yourself out. And Dave does. He takes a pressure washer, and it was standing tall. It was green. Well, he washed the motor in it. The motor just had just a little bit of grime on it. It wasn't nasty or anything. But he took a brush, started doing like this on top of the motor. When he did that, he broke the dipstick off. He put a piece of tape over it, the dipstick tube. And told me, he said, yeah, you need to order a dipstick for that car. And he said, but everything else is done. I'm like, whatever, all right. So I took the car and went ahead and put it out. I mean, it was out on a lot. Didn't think anything about it. I forgot about the dipstick. She goes, I'm looking for a good car, something good on gas, something to take my daughter back and forth. And it was a family friend, I knew her, I knew him, and I'll be honest with you, it was one of those deals, I didn't even take a down payment on it. I said, just pay me $75 a week on it, how about that? I mean, I bought the car for $400. She made every payment on it, and she came to pick up the title, and she's still driving it. Beat to hell, but it's still running. And I'm like, been a good little car for you, hasn't it? She said, it's been a great car. And it hit me. I said, you ever changed the oil in this car? She's like, no. She's delivering pizzas in this car, by the way. It still didn't have a dipstick in it. She'd never changed oil. This probably had 60,000 miles put on it, and it's still running. She's never added oil to it. This car, if Ford ever built one good car, that one was it. Had a lady bought a Taurus from a transmission, went out, threatened to she was a witch, and she was going to put a spell on me. She was going to put a spell on me, and her son was a warlock. And I told her, I said, okay. I said, let me get this straight. Transmission's out in your car. You're a witch. Your son's a warlock. Not even 100% sure what that is. And you're going to put a spell on me. Yeah. I said, all right. So you have magical powers. And she said, yeah. I said, you do. I said, well, why don't you just like wave your wand over that damn Taurus and fix it? Or why the hell you even need a car? Don't you fly around on a broomstick? Click. I had to repossess that one too. Matter of fact, when I was getting out of the buy here, pay here business, I used to keep about 80 cars on the books at all times, which is a circus. And you've got about 30 of them, they're dedicated. They'll pay, you get your checks, it don't matter. But that last 50 is tooth and nail every week. Got to threaten them, because I always had a key to their car. I would send them a picture holding their keys and be like, do you need me to come see you? I mean, that's the things you had to do to get your money. I got down to about 10 cars, and I was looking for a way out. I think one had 8 payments left on it. I mean, like, I was 2 months from being all the way out. I called every one of my customers, and I said, I tell you what, is your address, everything current still? He said, yeah. Guess what? I just gave you a car. You can have the rest of it. I'm done. It's not even worth $75 a week anymore. Just take it. I had a few of them, I never even mailed the titles back on. Like, they were delinquent. They just quit paying. I just threw the titles in the trash. I'm just done. In about 5 months, that little Caravan made me about 80 grand when it was all cleared. I was at the night auction, and slow night, Tuesday, at the auction, walking around, eating some popcorn. Me and about 30 others, everybody else done left. One of the last cars to go through, somebody drew a bad number, was a 95 Dodge Caravan Sport. And normally I wouldn't remember the details. I've sold hundreds of vans. I probably put every single mom in a 3-state area with bad credit in a minivan. But this one van, it was a little older. I couldn't even tell you the mileage on it, but it was a lot. I bought this van for $375, and that's with the auction fees. I left it at the auction for about 3 weeks because I forgot about it. And I mainly bought it because I thought for $375, it pulled itself out of there. It's got to be worth something. Scrap was up. I would scrap it and make $100. Well, they finally kept reminding me to come get my van, so I finally sent somebody to pick it up and brought it to the shop. And come to find out, the little van runs good. It's got cold air. What a bad little van. Had a bunch of miles on it, but had been maintained. And it was just like a little sport, a little plain Jane roll-up windows Caravan. So I used it for a runner. Title clerk used it. We all heck, I went to Lowe's in it. It was a great little van, and had nothing in it. I had a half a tank of gas when I got it. That was a selling point, and so I drove it around. Everybody drove it. It was my loaner for everybody. Take my little van, and I had it for a few months. Well, my mom is really big into home decor and all this stuff, and she lives out on the lake, and that's what lake people do, is they look for new ways to switch their house up and all that stuff, and that's a big thing, and now the rustic stuff is in. Well, I bought a sign shop about 5 years ago. This is the same time when I bought this van, and I was getting it up and running, and sign business is extremely competitive anywhere, but especially in upstate South Carolina. There's a sign shop on every corner. So I was trying to kind of make a name for it there, trying to get it up and going. I had a good friend of mine that I put running it, that I went to school with. Obviously I can't do everything, so I had him running that. And my mom found these old windows. And basically it's an old window sash, like a 28 by 32 single pane window. And they're old, they're from the 20s, have the wavy glass in them, brass hardware, and it looked like it came out of a mill. The paint was all peeling off of it, and Lord knows the lead that's in this thing. She seen it, and she said, "How pretty is this?" Well, the guy that I had running my sign shop said, "Man, how cool would that thing be lettered up?" So naturally, he did a big cursive P on it and put the Pitts family on the bottom of it in a real nice font. But he lettered it reverse, so it's on the back side of the glass, so it almost looks like it's part of the glass when it's against a wall or something like that. And turned out really slick, and of course he did it in some browns and like beiges to go with her home decor colors. Well, it took off. My mom actually had some people from a local news magazine at her house taking pictures of her home decor, and they seen this window. And they went crazy over it. Where did you get that made? And all this stuff. And next thing you know, her friends all wanted one. And I'm like, where did you even get this window at? She said, well, there's a salvage building place down here in Seneca, which is where their house is at in South Carolina. Says the older fella has it, and he buys, basically, when they tear buildings down, he buys all the stuff out of them. And so really, got me a little intrigued. So I drove my little Caravan down there and was just looking. This man had a 53-foot trailer full of these windows. They all came out of a plant that was tore down, and he's had them for about 20 years. And he says, I'll probably sell 10 a year. And he has a trailer load. I said, how much do you want for the whole trailer? And he gave me a price that was just crazy. And I'm like, no, we're not gonna do that. And he goes, I do need a good little van though, something to get around in. I said, how about my little Caravan right there? So I traded the Caravan for a trailer load of windows. So now what am I gonna do with these windows? That's where the salesman comes in. We get this brought back to the sign shop. We pull all the windows out. They're all basically the same size. There's a few odd ones in there. 90% of them are intact, not broke, good shape for what they are. Have that perfect patina on them. I hired 5 people looking for part-time work, cleaning glass. I hired 3 helpers to help Jeremy, the guy working my sign shop, letter them. And we started Window to the Heart. I was on 3 news channels. I did 4 Christmas festivals in one season. I helped a lady really start a really cool thing. She did like candles and stuff. And she was looking for a way to bring customers and to get them like a party to bring them on, like an Avon party, I guess, or a Tupperware party. So I said, will you let me tag along? I'll give you an idea. I said, let's call it a sipping shop. We'll buy some cheap wine. We'll get them dosed up, walk around, buy some stuff. And I met some really interesting people. So now I went from cars to home decor. So we're over here, and I have a few windows done up, sample windows, just sitting there. And of course, every lady, people were buying them for like weddings, to use in their wedding pictures or put behind the wedding cake, hang up in their house, for anniversaries. I met this really cool lady, and she come up. You could tell that she was a pretty high class lady. She's nice, well dressed, older, a real J.C. Penney type gal. She come up to me and she said, I really like this idea with the windows. It looks so nice. She said, I've been looking for something to buy my daughter for a wedding present. Said, she's been married 3 times. And I said, ma'am, can I tell you something? I said, well, I said, in about 30 seconds, I can make this a clean slate if it doesn't work. And she said, really? She said, I'll take 6 of them. I mean, women in the South love anything with their name on it. And I mean, Lord knows I've dated enough of them, hell you know. But, so they just naturally took off. We were selling these things for $75 a pop. Needless to say, the first 10 windows, I done paid for my van again. And I still have windows for days. I sold hundreds of these windows. And like I said, I sold one to AvalonKing, the Silverado guy, Royal Media. He actually has one. Sammy Kershaw, back in Louisiana, has one hanging in his house. In about 5 months, that little Caravan made me about 80 grand when it was all cleared. And it was the hardest 5 months of my life, wrapping these windows up in bubble wrap and shipping them out and moving. I didn't even touch a car in that period. All I was doing was glass. But it was insane how that little Caravan that nobody wanted, and the man to this day still drives in Seneca, is still running, made me that. I'm gonna be honest with you, if that Caravan ever comes up for sale, I would probably buy it back in a heartbeat. I could not Google her name fast enough. Selling cars over the years, I've sold cars to every type, breed of person imaginable. I have sold to athletes, all the way to single moms. I mean, just everything in between. Witches. It's always a lot of fun, and you got to be a people person in sales. And you always get to meet new people. And, something I tell people all the time is I sell to sell again. I love to sell. It's just fun putting a deal together with somebody that knows you from nobody. But this is probably one of the cooler experiences, and this didn't happen too long ago. We put on car shows all over the Southeast. It's called Hot Rods and Happy Hour. And I push collector cars and things of that nature now. We host car shows for all kinds of great charities and, race car drivers and things of that nature, and I love it. We have a blast with it. Well, of course, we have a radio show that's heard worldwide now. It's took off and done well. And the radio station in our hometown hosts a large car event every year, actually twice a year, called Carolina Motor Fest. We're down and we're hosting these shows and got all the speakers set up. And of course, Rob's doing the MCing and the music and keeping everybody hopping, having a good time. Great show, great turnout. 2 weeks prior, I purchased a 1970 split bumper RSSS Camaro. A pretty desirable car. The first gen Camaros went insane in value and have reached that virtually unobtainable to normal people price range. So now the second gens have gotten extremely hot because it's the next one's in line. And they're a good looking car. This car came available. It was a great price. A guy built it, did a wonderful job restoring it. It's been modded just enough, but just a good looking car. And we bought it at a fair price. I put my dad in it, driving it. He brought it up to Carolina Motor Fest. So parked next to the event trailer and hanging out and doing the car show thing, just showing off a little Camaro. Had a little for sale sign at the bottom of the screen with my phone, or the bottom of the windshield with my phone number on it. I'm hosting the show, really didn't think a whole lot about it, even get a chance to really look at the car. I noticed in my peripheral vision, a lady that's about 5'10", 5'11", with pink hair, walking around it. Tends to stick out a little bit, especially at a racetrack in a small town, but didn't think much about it. Well, I noticed her again walking around this car a couple hours later. Nice build, pink hair, tattoos running down her arm. Pretty sure she doesn't run the office at the church. Looking at this Camaro. Well, I didn't think much about it. We finished the show went great. Well, my phone rings. I answered. It's a female. She says, hey, I was at the car show yesterday and I was looking at your Camaro. And instantly, this pink-haired lady popped in my head. She said, you might have recognized me. I had the pink hair. And I said, actually, I did catch you out of the corner of my eye a couple of times. She said, I absolutely love that car, and I would love to come look at it. And I said, well, it's back at my shop in Greenville. I'd be more than happy to show it to you tomorrow, which would be Monday. She agreed, and she came out to the shop to look at it. She come rolling up in a new Jeep Wrangler at my shop. She got out, this big kind of big-for-nothing muscly guy, and they looked at the Camaro. In just no time, we're telling jokes, we're cutting up, talking about cars, just bullshit about everything. Selling the car is a small part of actually selling a car. So we're sitting in my office. She's never drove the car at this point. We're sitting in my office, and she says, I really like the car. And she said, is this a fair price? Yes, I think it's a very fair price. I think the car's priced right for the market. And I explained to her that the advantages of collector cars, how they're going up in value, and they're great investments. She said, well, I've been looking for something to invest my money in. She said, how fun would this be when I'm in town to drive my Camaro around instead of renting a Jeep or something like that? And I'm like, that would be great. And I said, I noticed the California area code. I said, what do we do for a living? She said, I'm an adult film star. I said, really? She said, yeah, I've been doing that for the last few years. I've been in town visiting my family in 96, South Carolina. Google it. It's a bump in the road. She said, I'm in town about 2 months out of the year. She said, my boyfriend lives here, big for nothing. And she said, he has an airplane hangar, and if he'll let me keep it there, I'll take it. Jersey Shore steps up and says, yeah, that's fine. She pays me for the car. She actually wrote me a check for it. I said, well, obviously I'm not going to release the car till the funds clear. She said, that's fine. She said, that's fine. I said, would you like to drive it? She said, I would love to. Now keep in mind, this Camaro is nowhere near stock. 4-wheel disc brakes, modified suspension. It's got a 383 Chevrolet stroker motor in it with a cross frame and 2 4-barrel carburetors. It is an automatic. It's got a 700R4 overdrive transmission in it. So we fired it up, you know, and it was sitting there idling. I said, hop in. So we go around the block, me and the Pornstar, in this 70s split bumper Camaro. The smile on her face is ear to ear. You could not chisel it off her face. And you know, she's cruising around, kind of grandma on it, 10 and 2. I told her, I said, busted in the ass, that's what it's made to do. It's insured. She took it around the block, she's in love. She says, yes, I've got to have it. Now keep in mind, this is spring, early spring, it's a little cooler out, whatnot. Check cleared, she come picked up her car, she was gone with it. And everybody thought the story was over there. Well, I get a call about 3 days later. She said, how much would it cost me to have air conditioning put on my Camaro? She said, it just gets so hot. I said, you're going to spend about $4,500 adding air to this car. And I said, but it will add to the value of it. And, you know, it'd be a great car. She said, it's almost a little too hot rod. Can we take, like, the dual carburetors off of it? I'm like, yeah, we can. We can do that, too. And I said, you know, we probably just put you a single intake and single carburetor on it, kind of mild it down a little bit, key it down. She's like, you know, just make it a little driver friendly. She done got it flooded a couple times and all that. I said, well, bring it back by the shop and we'll discuss something. She said, well, I'll be going out of town for a little while, so you'll be dealing with my boyfriend. That's perfect. So she's headed back to work and I'm dealing with Big for nothing. He brings the Camaro, it's skipping, fouled plugs, killing me. You know, they're not car people. They don't know, they just like it. You know, we talk about all the avenues to take to get this car where she likes it. And I'm thinking to myself, we're going to spend so much more money on this car, wouldn't it be better to find her something else with air? And maybe not as hot rod as this car is, as modded. Well, I call her up. We'll call her Julie. I said, Julie, you ever thought about finding another car? Maybe the Camaro's a little too much. She said, I love Corvettes. I said, really? Well, it just so happens we've got 4 in stock. Well, those Corvettes were a little out of her price range. She said, I really, really, really like, you know, those gold ones. Well, they made several gold vets over the years. And she said, Google it and send me a picture of what you're looking for. Well, she sent me a picture of a war bonnet yellow, gold, 1972 Corvette. 68 to 72 Corvettes, bumper cars, they're up in value, but neck and neck with the Camaro in price. I found a gorgeous example of a war bonnet yellow or Riverside Gold, 72 Corvette, 454, 360 horse, nothing crazy, factory air, 2-owner car. So, month goes by, she's back in town. She sees the car, she loves the car, she buys the car. She owns the Camaro and the Corvette at this point. She says, I don't need 2 cars right now. I said, well, I'll sell the Camaro for you on consignment. She said, I'll make you a deal. You sell the Camaro, I want you to go find me a truck. I mean, this girl's really put some serious skin in the collector car hobby. If you know anybody interested, I got a gorgeous 70 split bumper RSSS Camaro that is owned by an AVN award-winning adult film star that could be yours today. And she's so nice. I mean, she's very polite. But the boyfriend's the funniest part, and I love to joke. I mean, I did stand-up comedy for years. So naturally, if I can't joke with you, I don't even want to be around you. And we were joking around, throwing some war stories back and forth. And he said, yeah, I've slept with every woman in Pickens County but my mother and my sister. And he was like bragging, so I patted him on the back. I said, well, between the two of us, we got them all. True story, she gave me her daughter's phone number before I left the hospital. When I get good service, I always compliment it. You know, people go the extra mile to complain nowadays. With that being said, you know, recently divorced, 26-year-old, working in a new car dealership, selling Fords, old rabbit. Decided, you know what? Had a bright red Corvette. Need me something else. Bachelor, man about town. I want to get me a motorcycle. What would be the best first motorcycle? A brand new GS6R Suzuki. When I bought this bike in '07, it was brand new, it was a special edition. Yeah, there weren't many of them made. And the big thing was titanium exhaust, titanium header, titanium short pipe coming out. It was made by a company called Micron. When I bought my bike, they said, pick you out a helmet. We'll throw it in with the bike. And I said, take it off the bike. I said, if you keep the shiny side up, you don't need it. Now keep in mind, this is a guy that's never rode I've never stretched my ass across a motorcycle in my life at this point. And I've already bought it. So they put my exhaust on it. I picked it up 2 days later. I rode it home. Luckily, thank God, the motorcycle shop went about 2 miles from my house. It's in my garage, and I'm waxing on it, and checking it out, and riding around the neighborhood, coming back. Go a little further and come back. Next thing you know, I went out on a date in it, on my bike. Took a girl out on my bike. I was getting brave. I was riding, getting comfortable. July 6th, 2007 came. This is a Friday afternoon, about 6 o'clock. It was a girl I was dating. It was her birthday. I decided, you know what? I'm home a little early. I got to get ready for her birthday party, but I got just enough time to break the old motorcycle out and go for a ride. I was about 3 blocks from my house, and I laid it down. Little mistake, gave it a little too much when I shouldn't have. Things happen, you know, not the most skilled rider. Bike came down. When the bike came down, it actually shattered my left leg. My left leg snapped off right below the kneecap. And I'm like, you know, my leg's dangling at this point. You know, you're not even feeling pain, it's adrenaline, you know, right now. And I'm trying to figure out the bullshit story. I'm gonna tell everybody what happened, because this is definitely gonna need to be more than this, for this. And I'm sitting here, you know, and all this stuff, and the ambulance comes and gets me. And, you know, and I'm on my BlackBerry. The one I sent grandma's information on, actually. I sent a text to that girl, said, babe, I don't know if I'm gonna make your birthday party. I broke my leg. And she's like, whatever. I sent her a picture of it in the ambulance. First thing the ambulance driver, or the ambulance guys in the back asked me was what kind of drugs I was on, because I was way too calm to have this just happen. And I said, listen, I got shit to do. I got a birthday party to go to. Let's put a cast on this thing. Let's make it happen. I gotta go. Put the stretcher out of the back of the ambulance. As soon as those wheels hit the ground, I felt it in my leg. Just that jar. And then going over every bump, like the door runners. They bring me into the emergency room. Of course, you know, you get your leg hanging off, you know, and they're not gonna slide your pants off of you in the emergency room. They're gonna cut them off. Well, Rob's in a room full of ladies. I'm not shy, and I'm always putting on a show. good-looking, dark-headed nurse is over here on my right. She's coming up my pants leg with a pair of scissors. I put my hand right here inside my thigh, stopped her. I said, ma'am, before you go any further, there's something I need to tell you. She said, what's that? I said, this thing's been known to bring them to their knees, and I thought I should warn you. She said, we need to see this. She cuts him off. True story, she gave me her daughter's phone number before I left the hospital. Doc done come in, I told Doc, I said, listen, get me a set of crutches, and let's put a cast on this thing. I'll be at the bar tonight. I'm good to go. My Corvette's automatic. I don't need a clutch pedal. He said, well, let's see what this MRI says. He comes back, shows me. There was nothing between my knee and about that far above my ankle. It shattered the bone. And I'm like, uh-oh, how do we fix this? And he said, we're going to do a thing called the nail procedure. He said, we're going to insert a titanium rod in your leg, put a lot of screws and a lot of pins, and we're going to put you back together. And you're not going anywhere for a little while because there's a lot of asphalt and grass and grit in your wound, and then we're scared infection will set in. He said, you'll probably get out of here Monday or Tuesday. This was a Friday night. They do my surgery, the procedure. And it was so funny. I wake up the next morning about 7 o'clock. I'm in a room already. I got a cast up to my hip. One of those pump things on your foot, IV in each arm, and a little thing on your finger. I mean, the whole shooting match. The girl I was dating was there, and I'm like, dang, they're already done? And yeah, everything went good. And the doctor came in, he explained everything and said that everything went well, and asked me how I was feeling. I said, a little drowsy, but good. And, keep in mind, got a little bit of pretty boy in me. I'm always got my hair fixed. I'm that guy. And, my hair's all over my head. I mean, I got dirt on my face still because they only clean the parts they work on. And I said, when can I take a shower? And he said, well, maybe tomorrow night we can get you a sponge bath. Well, I told the girl that I was dating, I said, listen, the key to my house is inside that bag right there. I said, you get everything off the top of my bathroom counter in my bathroom, you put it in the travel kit, bring me some pajama pants, some t-shirts, bring my damn hair gel and some cologne, and you come back. Well, the doctor said, I said, I don't give a damn what the doctor said. Go. Well, while she was gone, a lady came and seen me. And she came in, she was a cleaning lady, a janitor. She had her little cart, and she said, hey, baby, how you doing? I said, doing great, ma'am. I said, is there any way I can have one of those trash bags? She's like, of course. She hands me a big black trash bag. IV's out. Put the trash bag over my leg. I rode the table into the bathroom. Your little table goes over the bed. I rode it into the bathroom. I showered, shaved, had pajamas on, hair fixed by the time the doc came back in. He came in, he's like, you've shaved, you've showered. I said, you're damn right. He said, I was up till 1 o'clock in the morning screwing screws through your bones, watching them chip away, and you could have made one wrong move and we'd be fitting you for a prosthetic. And he said, but I guess since your damn leg hasn't fell off, let's just see how good we did. He brought a walker and made me walk from one end to that hospital. That whole floor, I had to go from one end to the other. My leg felt like it weighed 900 pounds. And at first it wasn't no big deal. By the time I got back, I was dying. He goes, now sit your ass down and do like we say. And I joked with the nurses when they came in. You know how a hospital works. I broke my damn leg, but they'll wake you up in the middle of the night to check your temperature. I'm not there for the flu. So I always joke around with them. I'm here to check your temperature. I'd roll over. We don't do it like that. I'm like, okay. And I got to be the little class clown on my floor, got to know everybody and got a phone number. That was kind of cool. Monday, they said finally I could go home from the hospital. So my girlfriend was picking me up, and of course, just like any other hospital stay, you get a bill for it. And I got it before as they were wheeling me out. Well, that bill was $48,000. No health insurance at the time. I said, got to do like anybody else. So pay it. That's all you can do. But while I was in the hospital, I had a little downtime. And I was talking about customer service and about when you get good service from somebody. I sat down, had a legal pad there, put the pen to the paper, and I wrote a letter. That's the very first time I've ever been in the hospital in my life. I've sold an x-ray machine before, but I've never been in the hospital. And I said, you know, it was a very traumatic experience, but I said, the staff here made this so much better. And I was talking, and I dropped some names in there, including the nice lady that gave me the trash bag. She also kneeled and prayed with me while we were there. All the nurses were super nice, including the emergency room lady's daughter, real nice girl. And I mean, just real good service, you know, and just everything was great. I said, people will do anything to complain. And I said, I'll do anything to praise someone that gives me good service. And I said, I'll be honest with you, just thank you. And I dropped it in a little suggestion box on the way out. So the following Monday, I called the business office, gave her all my information, my social. I owed them $0. I had no balance. So let's check that one more time. She checked it. She said, yeah, we got where you were here, but your balance has been paid in full. Come to find out, the hospital, a lot of people donate when they pass away. They'll donate to the hospital and things like that. There's a special fund set up for that. And she said, apparently somebody thought your case was worthy of it. So it just goes to show you right there, a little praise can go a long way. I'm thinking to myself, all the ways I'm going to hell, riding to grandma's house to sell this Dodge truck. You know, in the car business, you know, you got people come up to you, you get to a certain point with them, you don't want to deal with them anymore. So you're not really nice or anything, you're just kind of like short and to the point and ready for them to leave. And I had a guy walk in and he just busted my balls every shot he got. I mean, he just knocking them down. I'm just like, you know, you're killing me. He was probably late 40s and balding, gut hanging out. And he goes, I'm buying this new Fusion for my wife. And now his wife, she was a nice looking lady, about half his age. Pretty sure she had some aftermarket parts on her, just guessing. Very, very, very well put together, nice Christian gal, and I'll leave it at that. Definitely one you take to mama. And, you know, and he was proud of her. You're real observant in sales. You pick up on things, you know, you pick up on the shoes they're wearing or the jewelry they have on or the clothes they're wearing or the jacket or the watch. You notice those things about people, you know, and it tells a lot about a person. This guy, you know, he was kind of plain. It looks like he shopped at, you know, TJ Maxx. But she was, you know, she was a JCPenney gal. She was nice. Finally, it just got to the point where, you know, either I was going to make a sale or I was going to lose the sale. But I was going to do it fast, one way or the other. So we're sitting there and he says, you know what's crazy is I can go down the street and buy my wife a brand new Kia loaded out for half the price of this Fusion. I'm not talking to him anymore. His wife's sitting there. I said, how are you doing, ma'am? She said, doing great. And I said, boy, that's a gorgeous ring you have on. Every woman in the world. And I take her hand and I look at it. I'm like, man, cubic zirconia? She said, no, it's real. And then she looks over at him. And I said, well, he was trying to buy a Kia at half the price. Maybe try to save a little money here too. We'll take the damn Fusion. So I made a sale that day. It could either go one way or the other, but that's just dealing with people, you know. Every guy wants a truck. That's a guy thing. And four-wheel drive, 3/4 ton Dodge trucks, 250s, 2500 Chevrolets, that's the premium. Everybody wants that. You know, every landscaper in the world feels like they need a 3/4 ton truck to pull a lawnmower around with. We had a guy come in the dealership and mud on his boots. You know, you can tell he's a working guy. And he come in and we had a 3/4 ton Dodge truck we took in on trade at the dealership. And it was nice and it was lifted and had a nice set of wheels and tires on it and it was a nice truck. And he come rolling in probably a 20-year-old Chevrolet truck covered in mud, beat to death, wheelbarrow in the back. I said, well, buddy, I said, what do you got to put down? He said, well, I got this old truck right here. And I'm thinking to myself, I said, well, let me call the used car manager up. And because I wasn't going to drive that piece of shit down, you know, and get my suit dirty driving in that. So I called him up to look at it. He looked at it. They were going to give him $450 for it if he threw the wheelbarrow in. It was bad. It was real bad. So needless to say, you know, he didn't have a lot down to put down. Let's see what your credit looks like. So we're sitting there in the business office and we're filling out his credit report and his job history and where he works and how long he lived there. And I said, well, let's see what that credit score's like. We'll see what we can do. And I walked into the business office and I wasn't in there 30 seconds and got turned around on it. He goes, yeah, this isn't going to work. His credit score, I ain't going to throw it out there, but it was on the lower side of 500. It was definitely not going to swing high $30,000 truck at the time. And so that wasn't going to work. And I said, hey, maybe you can get you a co-signer, help build your credit. We'll put this deal together today, get your payment down and everything. He said, well, I got my dad. Hey, what's dad doing? Well, he's at work. Hey, it's almost lunchtime. Does he take a lunch break? He said, yeah, he does. I said, let's ride and see him. You want to? So we got in that Dodge truck and we went and see him, Dad. Dad said, boy, it's a good looking truck. I said, yeah, and just think about your son working and all this stuff. This is a good image. I mean, pulling up in front of a job site and this, you know what I'm saying, versus old Bessie over there. And this is reliable. And he said, you know, he's fixing to get married and have a wife. I mean, this is a hot date truck. This is multi-purpose. You know, being a salesman, that's what I do. Dad signs the dotted line. I'm thinking, we might be able to make this work after all. I come rolling in, walk into the business office, and yet again, right back around again. Dad was about 50 points higher than the son. Still not enough. At this point, I done smoked about a half pack of cigarettes and done wore out 2 pairs of floor shimes walking back and forth between the business office and my office. And I told him, I said, listen, buddy, I said, as much as I hate to admit it, I don't think we're gonna be able to put this together unless you come up with a large amount of money or someone that can co-sign with you with a decent beacon. He starts shaking his leg and he's like, my grandma. I said, where's grandma live? In Greer, which is a town just next town over. You know, I said, let's go see grandma. I'm thinking to myself, all the ways I'm going to hell, riding to grandma's house to sell this Dodge truck. Total straw deal, but slow week, you know? You gotta do what you gotta do. Well, he didn't tell me exactly where grandma lived. We drove past the cemetery first, and I'm like, whoa, too far gone, we can't even do that. But then we drove past the cemetery, and he said, take a right here. It was a retirement home. And I'll never forget, we caught the late lunch shift at the Cottage House Retirement Community in Greer, South Carolina. And we sit down at the table when everybody's eating lunch and all this stuff with all these 80, 90-year-olds, people in walkers. Hey, Grandma. There's a bunch of grandmas out there. I didn't know which one it was, you know, but she pops up and she gets out and she's about 4'11" with a walker. He said, look what I want to buy. So 20 minutes later, we made it outside to the truck with her to look at it. And she said, the only way I'm going to co-sign on this vehicle is if I drive it. Now keep in mind, this is a lifted Dodge 2500 truck. This truck sits 4 foot off the ground. She's 4'11". I picked up his grandmother and set her in the driver's seat. I run the seat all the way to the top and raised it as high as I could. Can you see? Yes, sir, I can see just fine. I hop in the back seat, say a prayer for forgiveness. We take it around the block. She drove over every curb, every island in that parking lot. She returned it back to the parking spot somewhat. She took about 3 of them, but she did park it unscathed. I carefully set her back down in front of her walker. 20-minute trip back into the retirement community, and we filled out a credit app at the lunch table in the retirement home. And at the time, and keep in mind this was 2000s, I was pretty sly, so I done whipped out my BlackBerry and done sent the information. I was, social, the whole shooting match. Done sent it to the guy in the business office. I get back, Rob, we need to talk to you. I'm like, shit, not again. Has anybody got any credit in this family? And I'm thinking up the story I'm going to tell them why I've spent so much time on this. I walk into the business office. He said, you've got to be the luckiest son of a bitch that ever breathed air. Grandmother had an 845 Beacon. And then the next day we got a firm lecture about straw deals, but that's a whole nother story for a whole nother time. So needless to say, my social life picked up dramatically from that moment. In high school, I went out for the football team. I was a big guy, I weighed about 300 pounds. 6'2", big dude, about as fat, slow, and smoked like a tar kettle. And so, needless to say, football was not it. I was the kid with the clean white tennis shoes. And so I basically quit the football team. Well, my girlfriend broke up with me the same week. And I was brokenhearted. I was just down the dumps. And my dad was a pro mod drag racer. He was Mr. Cool. So, I mean, you know, me and him didn't have those sit down and arm around your son moments usually. But my dad knew I was down in the dumps. I come home one day from school and there's a 1995 Trans Am. Now keep in mind, it's a brand new car sitting there with a red bow on it in the driveway. I'm like, what's this? I get out and Dad said, I seen you was having a rough week. I bought you a car. And I'm like, a Trans Am? He said, yeah. So when all your buddies are playing with each other, playing football, now you can go play with their girlfriends. So needless to say, my social life picked up dramatically from that moment. I was really, really, really particular about my car. I didn't want to park it. And you got to think, being an underclassman, every high school is the same. They're going to put you way in the nosebleeds parking. Well, you think I'm going to cram my brand new Trans Am in the back of the school parking lot? No, that's not going to happen. I drive a nicer car than most teachers. So I parked in teacher parking. They got on to me a few times about it, and a few things were said. Well, I got the bright idea. Senior parking was the next row. I found me a senior that took the bus, got her to buy me a parking pass. I started parking in senior parking. And that worked for about the biggest part of the rest of the year. Had it figured out. My Trans Am was safe and door ding free. Had a good parking spot. Everybody's happy. Till this one assistant principal that didn't like me. She was waiting by my car one day as I came out. She said, Mr. Pitts, you're not a senior, but you're parked in senior parking. I said, I'm a freshman, but I take a senior home sometimes, and she's out sick today. What's her name? Needless to say, it didn't take long to figure out I was lying. She said, we've had a serious problem with you and your parking. Come to my office. She said, one more parking problem with you. You need to go back to underclassmen parking one more time, and we're permanently going to revoke your parking privileges. And I'm thinking to myself, my dad owns a damn car lot. I could drive a different car every day. So I got smart. But that bright green dealer tag got me every time. So needless to say, what do? Went back in teacher parking. Just like that. She said, after today, you need to move your car and you can't bring it back on school grounds. Well, here I am with a brand new Trans Am, and I'm going to have to explain to my parents why I can't drive it to school. And I said, Rob, you're smarter than this. You can do this. So I was pulling out of school, and Wade Hampton High School has a row of ranch houses across the street. I mean, it's a 2-lane road in front of it. 50 feet from the front door is these ranch houses. I pulled out, and there was an elderly lady out checking her mail. I whipped my Trans Am right in the driveway. I said, ma'am, I'm a new student here, and they're not selling parking passes anymore. She said, baby, you can park your car in my driveway. Better yet, the garage, why don't you just put it in the garage? And I'm thinking, this is just too good to be true. I said, well, thank you, ma'am. Thank you for letting me park. I'll pay you. She said, you owe me anything. She said, that's a beautiful car you have. I said, well, thank you, ma'am. So I had it figured out. So the next morning, I pull right in to her driveway. I back in. She's waiting on me. Would you like anything to eat, any breakfast or anything? I said, no, ma'am, I'm good. I'm just going to go on into school. As I'm walking across the street in the class, Miss Brister standing in front of the school. As I flip a Marlboro out, walking into the parking lot. I'm officially parking closer than I was in teacher parking. And there's nothing she could say about it. And this lady was so nice. And it is so funny, this story. This lady baked cookies for me when I got out of school. When it was raining, my car was sitting in the garage. I liked her better than my real grandma. And but high school was full of that kind of stuff. You know, I was always into something. I always had the hustle. But way before, you know, I was putting Chevrolets in driveways and Dodges in garages and Fords up on the board, I loved cleaning up cars. I loved detailing cars. Well, my junior and senior year, you know, I had study halls and career center, which are bird stuff. You can leave. And I was detailing half the faculty's cars at Wade Hampton High School. And they would let me leave to clean their car up. So they would be ready by the time they left. And you got to think about it. This was 1995 in South Carolina. You know, minimum wage was like $4.25 an hour. Well, Rob was paying $10 an hour to clean up cars. So I had 5 guys working with me. And I had car lots all up and down the stretch. And I was dropping guys off with cleanup stuff and using their water and cleaning cars up, and I'd pick them back up and pick a check up as I go. I loved body work. I remember my dad sold salvage cars for a living, so needless to say, body work was kind of close to me a little bit, so I decided, you know what, I'll take body class. Well, we had a state-of-the-art frame machine. It was brand new at the time. It was a car liner machine, and this thing was really, really nice. And the funniest thing about it was that a lot of the body shops didn't have a frame machine nowhere near this nice. You know, they had a old chain in the floor tug unit, you know, and this thing, you know, was with the computer on. I mean, this is one of the first ones like that you could actually dial a car in and put it back in spec. I was renting the frame machine out because our body shop teacher had a thing with the lady in the front office. So he would get us started and check roll, and he's gone for 3 hours. You didn't see him again. I would call him up and say, get the car over here. And if somebody walked in, I'd say it was my car. And we'd put it on the frame machine, and I was pulling cars and charging for it. We had an alignment rack in shop class. I had a little racket with this guy. We were lining the front ends on them too. We had another guy, he already called the paint booth though, so I couldn't really charge for that one. But we didn't have enough time really to be painting cars, but the frame machine worked out pretty good. Had the best rates in town, anybody working a frame machine. My senior year, and I actually took a job at an auto parts store. And this is probably the funniest thing ever. You know, I'm working a parts counter in an auto parts store, and you know, just a little after school job. And I was working one Saturday. The manager comes in a tizzy. You know, they accepted all your used oil, and it's big oil tank in the back. It was overflowing. Some reason the company that corporate set up never came to get our oil. We just kind of fell off the list. So we got all this oil, and how do you get rid of it? Well, I found a used oil company that will buy it from me, and they wrote me a check once a week for the oil out of the back of that store. I just made sure I was working that day they came. I did that for like a year, and nobody never knew. And I mean, they were glad it was empty. And I mean, I guess the big store manager figured that the company was supposed to be getting this. I don't know what they thought after I left. So basically, I guess all these high school experiences was just another feather in my cap of automotive entrepreneurism. I actually took my salesman that was training me tie and just pulled it off because there was a clip on it. You know, I decided I want to work in a new car dealership. I mean, I've worked in every realm of car sales in my life, but I've never worked in a new dealership, so I was intrigued by it. I went out, I got a job at a new Ford dealership, and working in Ford, it was so funny. It was a medium-sized dealership, you know, so it wasn't a real high-volume dealer, but what was really funny is their best salesman is the story they told me about him. Our best salesman sells 9 cars a month. And I'm thinking to myself, man, that don't sound like a lot. There's 30 days in a month, and you sold 9 cars. And you're talking to a guy that was selling 9 cars a week on eBay, you know? And I mean, it's just like, that was a slow week for me. So, you know, he walks me around, introduces me to everybody. And, you know, this is coming off my eBay fiasco. And it's a small Southern dealership, you know, and you walk in and I'm dressed like a preacher, you know? I got my suit on and a gold ring on every finger and 2 cell phones and like a drug dealing golfer that preaches on the side. And next thing you know, I'm talking to this sales manager with his wrinkled golf shirt and his, you know, kind of dirty khaki pants, you know, and he was talking to me about selling cars. And I'm like, okay. And he said, I want to introduce you to our salesman, Mr. 9 cars a month. And this guy comes in and it looks like he was just poured out. And I'm just like, you know, hair kind of like he just woke up, still kind of asleep. And I'll show you the ropes. And he showed me, you know, the process and how they do the paperwork. And I'll never forget, I was sitting at the desk and I took every paper that they had and I stapled them in order. So that way I could just flip and fill them out. You know, your customer survey, AKA credit app, and sheets like that, and just going through and whatnot, trade-in sheets and whatnot. And, you know, he showed me a 4-square like I'd never seen one before. And, you know, I mean, I can rock a 4-square upside down better than I can looking at it right side up. It was so funny, but, you know, I just kind of kept my mouth quiet about everything. He said, have you sold cars long? And I'm like, no, I'll just get into it. Yeah, just kind of play dumb with it, you know, let him do his thing. And, you know, and he walked me around the car a lot and he showed me where the keys were and this is what you do on a test drive. And he took me on their test drive route. And next thing you know, he showed me what they do the rest of the time. They sip on coffee and smoke cigarettes and wait for people to come in. And I had that down already. So, well, he had to leave early that day. So he left and I'm just kind of standing around twiddling my thumbs, first day at work. You know, didn't really have any friends there. You know, what do? Well, lo and behold, a gold F-150 pulls into the dealership. And, I've learned how to read people over the years. And it's something I picked up really early. This man gets out in a gold F-150 XLT truck, and, and I come walking up, and the first thing I noticed was his boots. He had these really nice, like cowboy boots on, not work boots, And you can tell a lot about a person. A man buys a $600 pair of boots, he's probably doing okay. And doing better than this salesman was at the time. I got out and introduced myself to him. And he said, "My name is Gary." I said, "Hey, Gary, my name is Rob Pitts, and it's nice to meet you." I said, "You looking at an F-150? He said, "Yeah, I am." He said, "I'm thinking about getting me a new one." He said, "I love these King Ranch trucks." Well, we had a black one sitting on the front line standing tall. I said, "We got you ready to go." He said, I won't own a black truck." He said, "I can't." He said, I like it, but I don't want a black truck. I want a white King Ranch." I said, "Well, tell you what, let's just drive this black one, and then we'll find you a white one on locator or something like that." He was down, so we went for a ride. We got to riding around, and, I've never been one to follow the rules, so test drive route was out the window. We were just riding around. "Gary, what do you do for a living?" He said, "I own a construction company." And we got talking about that a little bit, and we rode around to some of his sites. Well, Gary was building skyscrapers. I think Gary could swing an F-150. I didn't have to fill out a credit app to figure that out. I kind of kept that information in the back of my mind, didn't think much about it. And, we're riding around and talking and laughing. He said, "So, Rob," he said, what do you do?" And I told him, I said, "Well, I'm a stand-up comedian." He said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, I've been telling jokes for quite a while now." He said, "Tell me a joke." I said, "Build me a house." He said, "I guess I put you on the spot." And I said, "Just a little bit." But, we laughed and got going down the road. And next thing you know, they were building a new pharmacy right on the corner. I said, "Whip in there." He pulls in there, and he pulls that truck around that perfect three-quarter angle. I couldn't ask for him to park it any better. The white lines in the parking lot, brand new white lines, just shining against the black paint. He gets out and shuts the doors. And I said, "Will you look at that? There's nothing prettier than a black vehicle when it's clean, though. That is a gorgeous truck." He said, "It's absolutely beautiful." I said, "That right there's worth taking a picture of." Right, that's perfect. So that was like something out of a sales brochure. He said, "It is beautiful. It is a beautiful truck." I said, "Let's go find you a white one." So we get back to the dealership, and we're walking to the office, and I told him, I said, "Gary," I said, "I tell you what, I can find you a white truck." And I said, "It might be a week or two before we even get one, but we can get you a white one. Or we can put you in this black one today and probably do you a lot better." He said, "You know what? Let's see what we can do on this black truck." I'm like, "All right." So I went to see my sales manager. We put a little deal together right quick. Gary was easy to deal with. He was happy with the number. He bought a black truck. He said, "Congratulations, son. I walked in here today saying I wouldn't own a black truck, and I just bought a black truck." And while we were riding around, he was actually talking about construction stuff and some of the trucks that he had problems with. But before that, he said, "I need to call my wife and get some of the stuff out of my truck he was trading in." That's fine. So his wife comes pulling up in a similar year gold Explorer. She gets in, she jokes around. She said, "We always have matching cars, Gary." So I sold his wife a brand new black Eddie Bauer Explorer that day. Now keep in mind, their best salesman sold 9 cars in a month. I'm at 2 in my first hour and a half there. So, Gary got talking, and he said, "I bought a fleet of 6 Dodge trucks, half-ton V6, just work trucks." And he said, "These trucks," he said, "we've had them for a couple years," and he said, "I'm just not happy with them." He said, "They look like hell. They just, my guys are a little rough on them." I said, "Have you seen the F-150 V6s?" And at the time, we were selling like V6 base model F-150 trucks for like 19 and some change out the door. He's thinking about it, and he's like, "What could you do trade in on those Dodges?" So after his wife got all his stuff out, we took his new black F-150 and we rode out and we started looking at these Dodge trucks. I called the used car manager, we put a deal together. He bought every XL F-150 we had. He bought all 5 of them that day. And then his son came in the next day and actually bought him a brand new truck also. In selling cars, they want to cut your tie. And I actually took my salesman that was training me's tie and just pulled it off because there was a clip on it. It bugged me. So I actually kept that. And I still have that tie to this day. But the funniest thing ever, our dealership was owned by an ex-boxer. And this dude, he's big, muscly guy. He's an older guy. And he's been hit so many times in the head. Like his speech is slurred. Like the cauliflower ear, the whole shooting match. And he comes in, the dry erase board with all the lines. And, it's got the name. So it's got the name of the salesman, name of the man buying it, the unit he bought, and his trade-in. Well, my name's down there 8 times.
Who's this Rabbit guy?
I wrote my name so fast on the dry erase board, Robert looked like Rabbit to him. And he's,
I don't know who he is, but he sells a lot of cars.
and
He said, that's just one day? You didn't wipe this thing off the other day?
and never met the man before in my life till then. And it was so funny. My very next day, they gave me my own little glass office. They had on the window rabbit pits. And to this day, the owner and his son still call me Rabbit. And that was the best first day ever selling cars. This thing is lower than Magic Johnson's T-cell count. Had a guy come to me with something kind of odd. He said, man, he said, you're the first person I thought about when I found this. He said, I found a 1992 Mitsubishi Mighty Max pickup truck with your name written all over it. And I said, well, apparently you don't know my name because I wouldn't have a Mitsubishi Mighty Max pickup truck. He says, you haven't seen this one yet. And the story that goes with it is going to make you buy it. Hey, I'm a sucker for a sales pitch. Let's check it out. Well, I was tied up busy at the shop that day. Well, I get an address of where this truck is sitting, and it's been left sitting for the last 9 years. Well, I couldn't get loose, so I called my good friend Josh. And the only thing I knew is this a lowered mini truck. Used to be in a magazine. It was a magazine feature truck. So I called my good friend Josh. He's into custom trucks. Josh was off that day. I said, Josh, do me a solid. Here's an address. Come check out this little truck. See if it's a turd, whatever. About 30 minutes goes by, I get a phone call. Josh is not a phone call guy. He's going to shoot you a text, short and to the point. He's in love. He said, man, you will not believe this. He was like a little schoolgirl on the phone about this truck. He said, dude, this truck, he said, the outside of it, it's been sitting and you can tell. But he said, it's got a complete tube chassis under it. It's been body dropped, full air ride suspension, yada, yada, yada. He said, this thing is like the ultimate 90s mini truck. That's when it hit. 90s mini trucks are going insane right now, especially magazine feature trucks. If this thing was any more 90s, it would be a slap bracelet. You know, you got to think about it. All the guys that built these things in the 90s, well, they had to grow up sooner or later, and a regular cab mini truck really wasn't the best family ride. So they sold them. Well, they're really not good for anything other than showing off. So what happens? They get scrapped, they get parted out. Next thing you know, they go away. When's the last time you've seen a Mitsubishi pickup truck? So anyway, these trucks have sold. Well, now these guys are my age and older, and they want their mini truck back. But the key, quality, 90s style. And this truck supposedly is checking these boxes given by Josh having a girl crush on it. So I called the guy that was selling it. And he was a shrewd negotiator. He came in at a price and we were talking. He had that truck and two other trucks. One was a running, driving parts truck and the other one was a parts truck that wasn't running. And he had this complete old show truck that was in the middle of being redone when it was parked. I ended up buying all of it for $600, the total lot. And parts for days. We had probably 6 pickup truck loads of parts on top of the parts trucks that came out. So I knew in scrap, I made my money back. So we get these trucks and we start digging into it a little deeper. We pull the bed off of it. And this thing has this gorgeous tube chassis under a 92 Mitsubishi Mighty Max truck. The cross members, complete 4-bar suspension. It was one of the first trucks in the Southeast with air ride. Then people start chiming in about the truck. And then the good story hits about it. The guy that built this truck, and he bought it new, it's a one-owner truck. He bought it new, and it was his baby. He lowered it, and he took it to car shows, and that's what he did. Well, in '95, he decided he was going to build the ultimate show truck. And he did. He sent this truck to Tennessee. They found a rod shop up there that built this custom frame under this Mitsubishi truck. They cut the floor pans out of it, lowered the body over the frame. Completely different front suspension. A big thing with lowered trucks is the camber. Negative camber the wheels lay in when you lower it down. Well, in the last few years, they've came up with A-arms or upper control arms that actually correct that. In the last few years, it's 2018. In 95, they built A-arms for this truck to keep the wheels straight. This thing slams down harder than Monica Lewinsky on her knees in the Oval Office. So, I mean, like, a lot of work and just crazy engineering went into this Mitsubishi pickup truck. Custom Corbeau leather seats, suede headliner. I mean, you name it. I mean, a 2.4 liter motor that was built for it with a racing header and a Weber side draft carb on it in a Mitsubishi Mighty Max pickup truck. It just blows my mind, you know? And I mean, just the money was spent on this truck. Well, there's only one problem with this guy's baby, is how he made his money and how he could afford to build a truck of this magnitude. He was a meth dealer. Hell, I didn't know at the time. I bought Walter White's mini truck. You know, I don't know much about the drug biz. Try to stay out of it. But he didn't get caught with grams or ounces or, you know, baggies of stuff. He got caught with pounds of stuff and lots more stuff to make more stuff. He was involved in one of the largest meth busts in the Southeast. And that's when this truck got parked. And so that's why it'd been sitting. And he is serving life in prison. The story with this truck is just so awesome. It went from this guy's baby, and the owner is serving the rest of his life in jail because of it, you know, building this truck. So naturally, we're restoring it, and we're putting it back, full 90s style. I tell you what, I don't know what we're gonna add meth theme to this because I'm that guy, you know? You gotta take it back to its roots. But maybe a Blue Rock shift knob, or maybe a beaker for the washer fluid, or maybe even like a full body suit, hazmat suit laying in the back. You know, I'm a gambling man too, a little bit. So for the little mini truck, it should be done around September, October. I'd love to take it to the Turkey Rod Run down in Daytona, cruise around in it, you know, enjoy it a little bit. But I really think in January I'm gonna consign it for Barrett Jackson in Palm Beach and see rags to riches. She goes from sitting abandoned, the meth bust mini truck, to sitting on the block at Barrett Jackson. And I really think the truck's gonna do good. I think by that time that the market's gonna grow even more and the attention. You gotta think about April, we're rolling into another car show season, so people will be looking for something new and something different. And we're gonna come straight out of here with this little mini truck from nowhere. Pills come out from everywhere. You know, when I got out of high school, I was looking for a job, a steady job. I had to get some benefits and be, you know, an adult, go to work. Well, you know, I worked in a parts store and had pretty good luck with that. So I said, hey, why not apply for a parts position somewhere? Well, our local Nissan dealership, they called me back, and I'll never forget it. The store manager calls me up, and he says, I got good news and bad news. He said, good news is you're hired. I said, great. What's the bad news? He said, you're also fired. We got bought out today. But he said, I'm pretty sure that you will have a job with our new owner. They just bought their Nissan franchise. They didn't use their building, the property, or anything. He said, basically gave me an address, was a Hilton Hotel in downtown. He said, meet these guys at this time. Well, I walk into the Hilton, and there's some guys there in bright blue golf shirts and their perfectly starched khaki pants, working for a major automotive retailer, CarMax, the auto superstore. And they told me all about CarMax Way. CarMax hadn't made its way into South Carolina yet. It was news to me. He said, Rob, we need you to go to room 312. I'm like, okay. I mean, it's just so weird. I mean, I'm a 19-year-old kid. I'm real green at this stuff. I mean, I'm just like, okay, you know, kind of feeling it out. I mean, I'm about to get molested or something. This is crazy, you know? And the weirdest thing about this hotel room is all the furniture was gone out of it. And they gave me a drug test on the spot, which that was never a problem. So I took my drug test, and I asked him, I said, it's none of my business, but why is there no furniture in this hotel room? And he said, well, we didn't want it to be intimidating when you walked in. And I'm like, I understand if you're, you know, interviewing a little girl or something, you know, or a young woman or something like that, but okay, you know, whatever. So they flew me to Dulles, Maryland to show me the CarMax Way. And they asked me a lot of questions about my background, and I told them, you know, in sales, and told them, you know, clean up, and I said, I'm pretty good with numbers, pretty good with parts, pretty good mechanical knowledge, really good with body work. Told them a few little stories about that, they laughed. And I said, you know what, I might even be good at sales. You never know. And they said, we really don't think you'd be good for sales at CarMax. And which everybody knows after dealing with them, I see why they say that, because CarMax don't have salespeople, they have test drive monitors. But they stuck me in the parts department in Dulles, Maryland. I'd never been out of town before. First time I was on an airplane in my life. We get there and they gave me a car to drive. And I mean, Dulles, Maryland, I don't know if you've ever been there or not, but it's cold, and I'll just say that, it's cold and rough, very rough. Huge dealership, 1,000 used cars on the lot, 6 new car franchises in that one spot. And then I came back to Greenville, and the store was almost done. We were fixing to have our grand opening. We opened February 14th on Valentine's Day was our opening day. I'll never forget, they gave me a car to drive, and they said, we need you to go to the airport. We had Sterling Marlin there for our grand opening. I hope there's no NASCAR fans on here. So I picked this prick up, and the first thing he says, get out of the car, I drive everywhere. I'm like, whatever, I like drag racing better anyway, I care less. So we drive back and we do our grand opening thing. And they bought some nice cars, some really late model cars, which CarMax, that's their big thing. Low miles, late model, that's what they look for. And they usually miss everything else in between. They brought in a red Dodge Dakota truck. And the buyers were talking about it. He said, the Dodge dealership here doesn't even have one on the front line. And we have one on our opening day on our used car lot. And I said, yeah, it's a good looking truck. But I said, you can tell the bed's been painted on it. They said, no, Rob, that truck only has 6,000 miles on it. He said, it could have been a repossession or something like that. But he said, that truck's never had paint work done on it. And I said, whatever, I'm not going to argue with you about it. And I mean, I spotted that from 30 feet away. They sold the truck the very first day. Next day, I come back into work. I seen that little red Dakota coming right back in again one day. I mean, the next day is coming back. I'm like, that's crazy. Pull in the service department. Technician throws RO on the counter and starts laughing. Says, look under bed liner. They pull the bed liner back on it. It's got a blue bed inside. These cars are not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I said, you got a front fender with orange peel, you got a door with orange peel, and you got a bedside that's slick as glass that's been cut and buffed. I said, it's a dead giveaway that something's been done downside of this truck. And I said, I'm not saying it was a bad fix. I mean, somebody put a bed on it. It's probably a great truck, but it has been painted on. He said, you reckon you could help our buyers out a little bit? We got a project. He said, they need a little training. He said, they meet the criteria as far as the cars they're finding, but they may need a little help looking for potential body damage and things of that nature. They came in with a Firehawk Trans Am. Black, good-looking Trans Am. He said, now that's a good-looking car. He said, this car will do great in this market. And they were just bragging it up. I said, it's a good-looking car, but I said, you can tell the entire driver's side's been painted on this car. And he said, Rob, there's no orange peel on it. I said, but look down the other side and across the hood. Catch it in the right light. You see those little dimples? That's orange peel. He said, nope, you got it wrong. I'm not going to argue with this man. I'm fine. I went back going to the parts counter, hanging out. They put it up on the lift, changed oil in it, did a little CQI inspections on it. Pulled up on the lift, masking tape across the bottom of it, black paint across the bottom of the rocker panel on it. Another car goes to wholesale because we didn't sell wrecked cars. And they stood behind that. They wouldn't sell them. They would wholesale them off. We had a competitor, and I'm not going to call it out, but I was sent on a mission to go on their car lot and find all the wrecked cars or painted cars. And their buyer had already been over there one time earlier in the week, and he said he found only one car on the lot that he thought had it. He already told me where it was at, what it looked like, even the stock number of this car, so I could go right to it. And that car did have a little paintwork on it. He lucked up and hit one that did. I found about 12 that did, including one with clamp marks from a frame machine, and they really liked that. So I told them the price. We looked the car up online. They gave me cash, and I went and bought this car and brought it back. And we found a card for a body shop in it. We've got pictures of this car in the body shop on a frame machine that this guy took. And now they're selling this car that's never been wrecked or in trouble and with a clean Carfax report. You know, the thing you gotta understand about a Carfax report too, unless insurance pays off on it, it doesn't get listed. If that car's paid for, it will never be known. And we put it in the showroom. at CarMax with all their tags and their stickers and their window stickers still in it, and with little notes. I actually wrote the notes that were printed out and little signs by the car. Potential frame damage, clamp marks, and pictures of this car in the body shop. CarMax was the weirdest company ever. They took auto restoration to the next level. They would take off a set of Michelins that were knee deep, 10,000 miles, to put a set of no-name new tires on. Well, what do we do with all these used tires? And they come to me about it. I stocked every used tire shop in West Greenville. To this day, if I need a tire, I don't pay for anything in West Greenville. I'm the king of used tires in West Greenville. I stock these tire shops up. Keep in mind, we're selling 500-600 units a month out of the store. They just want somebody to take them. And I'm like, I'm calling these used tire stores up. I said, you want to get some tires? How much are they? I said, they're free. They're free. And they see these tires, and I mean, like, maybe 1 in 10 would not be usable. So they love this. Aftermarket accessories, anything with a speaker box, anything in the trunk, a trailer hitch. They took them off, and they were throwing them in the dumpsters. We had the garbage man climbing in the dumpster, digging out trailer hitches. He had a side hustle online. But we bought some Explorers that were conversions. They had a high top on them like a van. They were crazy looking, had every tacky stick-on accessory on them, just cheesy running boards, the whole shooting match. We sold it and it came back a few days later. It's a waiter, there's a noise in the dash. Technician comes in, first thing he does, drop the glove box down, because he could hear it when he turned the heat on, the blower motor on. He drops the glove box down, a little baggie of pills falls out. Hits the dash, more pills fall out. He pulls the glove box inside out, pulls back the heater box, pills come out from everywhere. Little baggies with about 2 to 3 pills in each one, different colors. We pulled the door panels off of it, full of pills. We pulled the back quarter panels off of it, inside, interior quarter panels, full of pills. This person is sitting in the service waiting room, and we're pulling shovel loads of pills out of this damn Explorer. I call the police. So a Greenville County SWAT car drives by, they see it pull in, drive in and around. We filled up a 30-gallon trash bag with mystery pills, and I'm pretty sure it's not Tylenol, cold and flu, but I'm pretty sure somebody lost their damn life because of this car getting lost. We had a drug dog go through it, put all the panels back on it, cleaned it up in the detail shop while they waited, and they pulled it around. They said, guess what? Your blower motor, the fan, was a little loose. Got you all ready to go. And they never knew it. And the cops were still there when they left. That's what makes it so much fun. And that was just another day at the Max. So now eBay's actually came after my family. You know, by the time I graduated high school, I already bought and sold probably 20, 30 cars. I wouldn't even know enough to have a car in my name yet. I mean, I could write my mom's name better than she could on a bill of sale. My mom bought and sold cars she never even saw before. So naturally, when I was of age of buying cars, I started going to auctions and buying cars, charity auctions. Anywhere that let me in and had an auction, I wanted to be there. And you learn a lot of things. I was totally green, and you see these cars. And like, I remember really early on, I bought a car in an auction one time, and it was a Thunderbird. It was like a 95 Thunderbird. It was really cheap, and it was V8 Thunderbird, and I could buy it for $400. Heck, this is a $1,000 car. Yeah, the whole right side was cleaned off of it. I never walked around it. I learned a valuable lesson that day. Little things like that. I also bought some cars, with some unexpected surprises in them. I actually bought a van that was a repossession that was full of cable boxes. And I actually sold the cable boxes for more than I sold the van for. Matter of fact, the only way I profited on the van was from the cable boxes. Thank you, DirecTV. And I got to plan on eBay a lot, and eBay was a lot of fun. And this is right when eBay Motors started. There was a double handful of people selling cars on eBay. 2000, they thought internet was just for porn, So, you're gonna sell a car, nobody's gonna look at it and drive it and touch it. They're gonna buy it right there and then come pick it up. Yeah, I started buying and selling a lot of cars, used cars. And it's the thing that's crazy is cars that don't sell so good in your town may be really hot somewhere else, and they're looking for that car. Well, you gotta think about it. At a car lot, you've got one location, one spot, and unless somebody drives by and sees it, That's the only time it's going to get seen. And a rainy day is a wasted day on a car lot. Well, that's retail sunshine. That's eBay's prime time. I mean, people are looking because it's nasty outside, so what are they doing? They're playing online. So I started getting smart about it, and I had several friends that had car lots. So I went to their car lot, and I would talk to them. I said, tell you what, I want the 3 cars you've had the longest, and I'm going to sell them for you at a profit, and you're going to pay me a percentage off of, and I'm going to sell them in 7 days. The very first car lot I went to, and it's no longer there anymore, he actually retired, he had a car on his lot for 7 months. I mean, this thing was fixing to have a birthday on a car lot. That's bad. And I sold it on a 5-day auction for more than he was asking for. The very first words out of his mouth, is this legal? Yes, it's legal. And he was sold. Every week he had 3 more cars for me to sell. 3 more, 3 more. And then it almost got to the point he was just buying cars that I was looking for. Friend tells another friend, friend tells another friend. I had about 40 car lots within a year that I was selling cars for online. I'm a 20-year-old kid. You know, and I'm walking around with my $600 Sony CyberShot camera and writing down all the details and my detailed pictures and typing everything out and throw a funny pun in there every once in a while. And next thing you know, it really started taking off, and I was selling, anywhere between 30, 60 cars a month. I've sold heavy equipment, forklifts. I've sold traffic light changing trucks, boom trucks, semi trucks, tractor trailers, the trailers and the trucks and trailers together, car haulers. There was a drag car called the Quarter Horse. It was built in the 60s. It was a Henry J, a 1951 Henry J. A Henry J was a mail order catalog car through Sears and Roebuck. You ordered it out of a book. And the thing that was cool is somebody ordered this car and it was used on a military base for years as a little runaround. Well, finally it just bit the dust. These guys on the base built a drag car out of it, and they called it the Quarter Horse. Well, this, like I said, was in the late 60s, and everything that was used on that car was from the military base. All the seat belts and the seats were covered in parachute material, and the seat belts were the seat belts of a fighter jet, and it was painted with airplane paint. I mean, it was hand lettered by a guy that was in the military. I mean, everything was done. And this thing toured around the nation to Air Force bases everywhere. And the car got a lot of notoriety. It was in Hot Rod magazine and things like that. Well, a friend of mine found this car in a barn behind a tire store, and he bought it for next to nothing. And all this awesome information on this car. Had a, Oldsmobile J2 engine in it, had 1 seat in the center. I mean, it was crazy looking, this early drag car. I mean, it was a death trap from way back, but the car ran. They got it running. He's like, how can I sell it? He said, I've had it for 6 months. I tied up a lot of money in this car. It's not taking off like I thought it would. Everybody loves to look at it, but nobody wants to own it. 7 days later, I sold it to a museum in California for 3 times the number he was asking for. So needless to say, he was a fan of robbing eBay at the same time. You got to think about it. In 2000, there was probably 2,500 cars sold on eBay. In 2005, there was 5 million cars sold on eBay. And I'll never forget, I was an eBay power seller. And that was awesome. You get my little plaque and my eBay golf shirt. And, I was proud of that. I mean, that was right up there with the old high school diploma, eBay power seller, and showing it to my mom, my little home office. And well, they actually sent me an invitation to eBay University. And it was a big conference they were having. They explained the bidding process and how eBay got started and all of this fun stuff, about eBay. And it was interesting, but the majority of it I knew. And it was kind of a yawn fest the whole time. But it was cool, it was neat to kind of be a part of it, whatnot. And I'll never forget, they were explaining the proxy bid system that eBay uses to this day. Well, if you tell me something that intrigues me, I'm going to research the hell out of it. A few years before this, a lot of friends of mine were getting big into poker, Texas Hold'em. I've never played cards in my life, but I was intrigued by it. I want to know more. I want to know how it works, the inners, the ins, the ins, outs, all the way around it. So I read a book by Doyle Bronson called Super System. It's 605 pages, 10 less than the Bible, on 1 card game. And that's how I play poker, just like Doyle Bronson and just like the book. And I'm that guy. I'm going to research it. So I came out of the box the 3rd time I touched cards. They're like, man, Rob, you must be lucky. I guess so. So this proxy bidding, it intrigued me, and I've seen it work and I knew how it worked, but they broke it down into a lot of detail. Too much detail for them. And this is before PayPal and all that stuff. So I opened up an eBay account, email address, a name, and an address. So I started thinking about it. I'm like, And my dog at the time, he's 3-pound Chihuahua sitting beside me. So I started sprocking an eBay account, and it worked. And we bought things on there, just random stuff. Well, I put them at my neighbor's house as the address. So I started looking at houses for sale online. I'd use addresses, and I started probably 20 or 30 faux eBay accounts. My biggest reason I wanted the eBay accounts was for feedback. Somebody buy a car and have a hard time with it. It's a used car. They're problematic. People don't trade in perfectly good cars, as a rule, and they leave you a negative feedback. Well, that kills your score. The one flaw in the eBay feedback system, a 99-cent item and a $200,000 car carry the same weight in feedback. So what do? You start buying little cheap stuff, downloads that you would never download just to get those feedbacks, to get your numbers back up. And then I started figuring out on the bidding end of it. You got somebody bidding and there's more money on the table there. You're in an auction that you started a car off at $1 on, and that's what I always did, no reserve and $1 auctions on these cars. And what I would do is jump in there, I'd bump that bid up if I needed to, and sometimes you got bid, and I was a high bidder on my own car. Sometimes made them pay what they were really wanting to pay for it to begin with. Go on eBay right now and find me an address. You want to mail them a letter, or find a phone number for eBay. They ain't got one. I know eBay's address. It's 1025 Hamilton Avenue, San Jose, California. Because they didn't send me a message, not an email. They sent me a certified letter. It was 17 pages long and killed every eBay account I had overnight. And they didn't like my bidding practices. And what's so funny, it was the month before that I was a power seller again. So the month of September 2005, I was an eBay power seller. The next month, I was permanently banned from eBay. That was 12 years ago. All right. Probably about 6 months ago, it was a joke. I said, you open up an eBay account, New email address, knew everything, I don't even live in the same house anymore. Knew everything, put my credit card in from a PayPal. Gotcha, I'm in. Next day, it's killed again. My father's actually gotten warnings on his eBay. They were asking if it was someone else and not him. So now eBay's actually came after my family, which is hilarious about this. The big constant running joke with all my friends was, you're the original eBay outlaw. You're the only person, of all the people I've ever talked, I've never heard somebody being permanently banned from eBay. It's so funny, I guess you got to get your eBay and your mama name, I guess, but that pretty much ended my career in selling cars on eBay. So I had to move on to funner and brighter things.
We'd like to thank AvalonKing for their continued support of the VINwiki YouTube channel. I have their Armor Shield 9 ceramic coating on all my cars, and I love it. The increased shine, the reflectivity, the ease of cleaning, and the protection of the paint all make it a tremendous thing to add value and protection to your car. You can check it out at the link in the description below, and we're going to continue to experiment and do interesting projects like the S55, which hopefully at some point soon will get to be shot off the cliff to see if it protects your car in the event of an accident.
Oh, that's cute, Ed. I'm over here at Gina's Garage with AvalonKing building a V12 supercar from scratch. Yeah, we're way past ceramic coatings now, buddy.
Okay, well, we'll hear more from Casey about the King Zero project later this month. But again, thank you to AvalonKing for supporting the channel. Check them out in the link in the description below.